She comes down from Yellow Mountain on a dark flat land she rides on a pony she named Wildfire, with a whirlwind by her side on a cold Nebraska night. They say she died one winter when there came a killing frost, and the pony she named Wildfire busted down his stall. In a blizzard he was lost. So by the dark of the moon I planted, but there came an early snow. There's been an old hoot owl howling outside my window now 6 nights in a row. She's coming for me, I know, and